So there's a news article just come out today. Birth rate pushes UK population to greatest increase in almost 50 years. The UK population has basically reached 61.4 million and it's grown at a rate of 0.7% every year, which is triple the amount of the 80s and double the amount of the 90s. There's a link to the news story in the sidebar. And of course the elite must be reading information like this and thinking to themselves, oh my god, we're going to have to start accelerating our global depopulation plan. Because I'm sure you're aware, but for people who aren't, basically there's lots of evidence to suggest that the elite want to depopulate the planet. The second link in the sidebar is to a good essay that I found on the internet, and it's basically a collection of quotes from the elite and from people who work for various think tanks and various international organisations like the UN and UNESCO, and also some environmental agencies. Lots of quotes there basically saying, you know, we need to depopulate the planet, we need to reduce the world population. And of course many of you will be aware of the Georgia Guidestones as well. If you're not, then just Google Georgia Guidestones, which were basically a huge monument that was erected rather mysteriously in Georgia, obviously, and there were a list of things that whoever arranged for this to be put up, a list of things that they wanted to see happen, and one of the points on this was to reduce the world population to 500 million people. So yeah, lots of evidence to suggest the elite want to depopulate the planet. I mean, you know, this is not really a surprise because things like eugenics were mainstream science until the Nazis gave it a bad name. During the 20s and 30s, yeah, eugenics was just, it wasn't a taboo at all, and it was just widely talked about in mainstream science. And also, you read these quotes and it's just scary, and it just is evidence that the elite want to reduce the world population. Now the question is, how are they doing that? Because obviously there's two ways to try and reduce the world population. One is to try and stop people from reproducing, and the other is simply to kill them off. And I mean, you look at the state of constant war that the world is in, caused by the elite, and that kills off, you know, hundreds of thousands of people every year. So that's one way they're trying to depopulate the world. We've got when the elite and when corporations are in control of the food supply, and when they're introducing things like Codex Alimentarius, which you should also look up if you're not familiar with it. Yeah, basically they have the power to starve people to death if they want to. We've got things like the swine flu as well, which some well-respected scientists have basically said could have been made in a laboratory because it's a combination of 3 different flus, the human flu, bird flu and pig flu, and the likelihood of this having occurred naturally is quite slim, these scientists argue. Yeah, so could that have been an attempt to wipe out some of the population? Quite possibly. Could the vaccine also be related to that? Quite possibly. I mean, there's no firm evidence for any of this, but when you read the quotes in the essay that I've linked to in the sidebar, it definitely makes you think that the elite want to depopulate the planet. And we've seen how completely ruthless the elite are. I mean, they're happy to kill innocent people in war, happy to bomb innocent people. We've seen what they did on 9/11, murdering 3,000 innocent people. You know, there's absolutely no limits to the ruthlessness of the elite. And having read what I've read and done the research that I've done, I believe that the elite want to depopulate the planet and that they'd have no qualms about killing off as many people as possible, so that the world's resources are left to them and left to their offspring and left to their basically future generations. Peace.